Hello YouTube, I will be explaining in this video how to permanently get rid of algae in your fish tank. First of all, in order to get rid of algae and to make sure we don't have it in our tanks, we must know what causes it. There are two stages of algae. For the purposes of this video, I will refer to the first stage of algae as algae spore stage 1. And I will refer to the second stage as algae stage 2, and I will do this so that I don't confuse anyone with the science behind everything. The thing is that all of our tanks have stage 1 algae spores, which we cannot see because it is not visible to our eyes. Once we have ammonia in our tanks, those stage 1 algae spores becomes algae stage 2. Algae stage 2 is an actual algae that we can visibly see with our eyes. The green stuff that is in our glass and plant leaves. Algae stage 1 can only feed from ammonia. Algae stage 2 can only feed from nitrates and phosphates. Now that we can understand what causes algae, I am going to explain how to fix your algae issue. Step 1, that is to make sure that your plants are not deficient from nutrients. And by this I mean to have extra fertilizers in your tank. Having extra fertilizers in your tank doesn't cause algae, and this is just a myth. Having a lot of phosphates and nitrates does not cause algae. People dose estimative index on their fish tanks, which is overdosing a tank with nutrients, and it doesn't cause algae when people have enough CO2 and not excessive light. Having nutrient deficient plants, it's what causes algae, and this is because when your plants are being nutrient deficient, they stop growing properly. And when they stop growing properly, they are unable to absorb some of the nutrients present in your water, and then they are unable to outcompete algae. Also, when your plant leaves are dying and plants are not doing well, they release NH4, which is ammonia. So what happens when we get ammonia? The algae spores become algae, which feed on nitrates and phosphates. Do not, and I mean do not, reduce your nitrates or phosphates or any nutrients, and this is because your plants need them to grow and to outcompete algae. By reducing the amount of nutrients in your tank, your plants would only become more unhealthier, and your algae issue would only get worse. The main focus of your tank should be keeping your plants healthy, period. Make sure that you have enough CO2 in your tank. If you don't have pressurized CO2, you can dose the recommended amount of CChem XL or API CO2 booster, which in my experience also works out pretty well. If you are really struggling a lot with algae, I advise to dose twice of the recommended amount. If you have pressurized CO2, make sure that you have at least 30 ppm of CO2, and make sure that your drop checker is green. You may be able to increase your CO2 just a bit, but monitor your fish and shrimp behavior closely to make sure that they are not acting weird and unusual. There is a possibility that you may have too much light on your tank, and you may reduce the algae problem in your tank by reducing your photo period. Remember that the more light you have, the more CO2 nutrients your plants need. So if you have a lot of light in your tank and your plants are struggling, the high amount of light that you have is driving the plant's needs higher for nutrients and CO2, and you may be worsening your algae issue. Having a cleaning crew on your tank will help you have algae like away from your tank, and it'll help you have your cleaning crew clean the algae off the leaves. So I would advise to purchase some autosyncless catfish, a mono shrimp, and Siamese algae eater. Do not excessively feed your fish because the ammonia will cause algae in your tank. You can avoid ammonia issues by purchasing a larger filter because it will have more room for biological filtration. And you can also avoid ammonia issues by cleaning dead leaves from your tank and throwing them away. Make sure that your tank is not overstocked because this could contribute to ammonia issues. You can also reduce ammonia in your tank by doing water changes. However, remember to fertilize your tank because water changes will reduce nutrients that your plants need. I understand that not everyone has a planted tank. For those of you who have only fish in your tank and no plants, make sure that you decrease the amount of nitrates and phosphates in your tank, and you can do this by doing more frequent and larger water changes. Okay, so now that we understand how to deal with algae, I will talk about some of the algae that people tend to struggle with the most. People often struggle with green spot algae, and this type of algae often happens when your plants are deficient of phosphates. When your plants are deficient of phosphates, the leaves start turning dark green. Phosphate deficiency can be a bit hard to identify because it tends to look different on plants, so my advice is to make sure your plants are not deficient, period. Previously, my tank was struggling from a phosphate deficiency, so I fixed this issue by dosing estimated index, and as you can see, my plants are now recovering. So if you want to see what phosphate deficiency looks like, I suggest you look into my phosphate deficiency video. Another algae that people struggle with, it's called black hair algae. This type of algae happens in the plant tank when you have fluctuating levels of CO2. If you have a pressurized system, make sure that your CO2 levels are not fluctuating. You can also fix this issue by dosing CChem or API CO2 booster. You can also have Siamese algae eaters temporarily to fix this issue. If you have a low-tech tank and your tank has black hair algae, those API CO2 booster or CChem. You can have a few algae eaters in your tank to fix your algae issue, and you can scrape your tank glass all you want, but this would only temporarily mask the root of the problem. To fix your algae problem for good, like I said, make sure your plants are not deficient of nutrients and CO2. Almost forgot to say this, but make sure you have adequate flow so that your nutrients in your tank could be distributed properly. One of the most annoying things in this hobby is coming across people that don't know how to properly explain things. Coming across individuals who give mixed information based on opinion and not science or proper research. If you like how I explain things, please subscribe to my channel and like my videos. Soon, I'll be making a video about different fertilization methods, including estimated index, PPS Pro, and how to fertilize your tank using all of the Seachem products. Alright people, I hope you enjoyed my video and that you get to fix your annoying algae issue. Peace out.